Proud supporters of Africa this week. Engine, with us, you are number one.
Despite glaring shortcomings in Africa's food security, as illustrated by the drought and related famine engulfing the Horn of Africa, female researchers still make up less than 25% of Africa's agricultural scientists. African Women in Agricultural Research and Development, or AWARD, is addressing that gap by building the capacity of African women scientists conducting pro-poor agricultural research. Dr. Lusike Wasilwa is Assistant Director for Horticulture and Industrial Crops Research at the Kenya Agricultural Research Institute. She spoke to us on the day of the award ceremony in Nairobi.
Females should constitute 50% of the scientists, but right now we're only at 25%. But when we go to on-farm activities, 80% of the farming is done by women. So where do these women disappear to when it comes to science and agriculture research? We need to do something about this. And that's why we have programs like AWARD, ensuring that it builds capacity of women in leadership in science, so we can also develop products, contribute to data that informs policies that are effective in terms of trying to reduce food security and also trying to increase the role of women in agriculture productivity.
Let me be the devil's advocate, Lusike. Some would say, yes, it's true. Women till the land, work the land. But what they need is to become large-scale farmers so that their endeavors are commercially viable, so that they're doing more than putting food on the table. They're creating agricultural businesses. They don't really need to be scientists to do that.
Let me tell you, behind every successful man, there is a woman. But when we look at African customs and culture, land ownership is not by women. Now there is a change. The younger generations were getting ownership of land by women. But until that happens, we have to keep on trying to fight for our space, trying to elevate the importance of women. And men do acknowledge that when their wife works closely with them, the income that they generate is even higher. So it's not just agriculture research, but even on down to the ground to really show the role of women, so they're able to control some of the money that they generate, not where they generate this money and all of it is being controlled by the man. It's very disheartening where here the women doing 80% and they cannot control any of the finances they generate. We have to do something.
What's a priority for you?
The priority for me is to give women what they're used to working with. Women need firewood to cook. So the solution for that is let them plant fruit trees, nut trees, fodder trees. So there's food for their animals, there's food for them, there's firewood for fuel, there's shade, and it also contributes to carbon credits. So the answer and solution for the food insecurity in Africa is trees. We need more of these trees. They tend to have drought tolerance or environmental resilience. And this is what Africa needs to focus. A lot of focus is on cereals that are not drought hardy. The drought hardy ones are like sorghum, millet, but maize in a lot of areas that are where it's grown in Africa, farmers never ever get to harvest a crop. When this happens, and this is what they're depending on for food security, there's a problem. But there are other crops, like cassava, that are drought tolerant. So when we look at technology and the technologies we require, when we use GM technology, that is a last resort. GM is the most expensive technology. But at times we have no choice. If we are growing a maize and then it's destroyed by an insect, the larger grain borer, and there's a technology that can reduce that loss, that is healthy for the environment because you're not using all of these pesticides, then why not use it, really? So when we're using technology, we're trying to increase production and productivity and produce food that is safe and nutritious that can also contribute to increased income. And that is what we're trying to do here.
The findings of the second World Menu Report released on August the 16th indicates that more than 80% of people globally are worried about restaurant food waste. Buntu Williams spoke to Ilko Kaminga, Vice President of Unilever Food Solutions for Africa, the Middle East and Pakistan.
According to the United Nations Environment Programme, over half the food produced in the world today is lost, wasted or discarded as a result of inefficiencies in the human-managed food chain. The findings of the second World Menu Report indicate that more than 8 out of 10 people globally are concerned about restaurant food waste.
Of the 3,500 odd interviews that we did throughout the world, what came out quite clearly on tops was that people are very concerned, diners are concerned about how much food is wasted. 80% of people in the developed world, and in fact a higher note in the developing markets in the developing world said, 87% said we're very concerned about wastage and what is happening to it and how does it get wasted and how do we stop it.
The Food Bank estimates that South Africa can feed its entire population, yet at least 11 million or 20% of the population have insufficient access to food, while another 14 million are vulnerable to food insecurity. This must be posing a moral question over food wastage, considering events in Somalia and elsewhere in Africa.
I think it's become a moral concern. The fact that diners and consumers are talking about it, it is a moral concern. I don't think that anybody can stand by and say, gosh, we've got the famine and the things that are happening in Somalia as we see every day on television, yet we globally throw away 3 million tons of food a year. I don't think we can stand by and say, well, that's okay. So moral issue certainly, and now to do something about it.
Almost half the respondents, or 48%, appear to believe that the problem is for the government to fix.
First of all, let's just say that government is there because we put them there. So therefore the responsibility is both public and private responsibilities in terms of doing something about this waste. I don't believe that any one party can take full responsibility. It can't be business that says it's our responsibility. It can't be government on its own. It has to be a partnership that works together. In that light, we've created, and we are throughout the world now in all 74 countries that we operate in, creating the United Against Waste Coalition, which will take industry professionals such as ourselves, it'll take chefs, it'll take operators, and other professional people. We'll bring them together and create some form of charter with specific action points and drivers, and we will work towards helping operators reduce that waste.
Since most of the wastage happens at preparation stage, what solutions are there to manage this problem?
It's quite a sensitive issue, particularly when you know that you're throwing it away in a bin and there are hungry people. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is that we know that there are many needy people, and we also know that we have a responsible way in some instances in which we dispose of food products. That's usually in a way in which you say the sell-by date versus the best before date, and the difference between those two are sometimes give you an opportunity and a period to be able to distribute food in a responsible manner, either via the food bank or through one of the other reputable organizations, to people that can still use it. Tea, for example, that has gone past its sell-by date, is not yet past its best before date, is still easily usable, and we can donate and distribute those kind of products. We have to distribute, when we get rid of sell-by date material or product that is expired, you have to be responsible in that as well. You can't leave it and throw it on a massive big landfill site for somebody else to come and collect it and redistribute, and you stand the risk of somebody getting ill because of it. Then it's a bad reflection on the organization that initially manufactured the product. And thirdly is cooked food or prepared food is very susceptible once its temperature has been raised to bacterial growth, and so it's very high risk to distribute that. So it needs to be, as we said beforehand, via the United Against Waste Coalition, a very structured and careful approach. How do we do it from farm to fork and beyond? How do we control that waste of raw materials? What happens with that? What can you save? How do you do it responsibly disposing of that waste after the event? What happens in operators' kitchens when plates of food come back? Does he look at that and does he say, hey, there constantly seems to be a large amount of this veg that's being wasted or this product that's being wasted. How do I reduce my portion size, or can I do something different with it?